a long time ago. Many, many times it should have been told. And that's the saga of the Pedro Pans. There are many reasons why the story was not told. Many, many reasons. To me, the main reason was our own fault. The Pedro Pan's fault. Why? Because we lived it, we accepted it, but we never talked about it. We never made a big deal out of it. Never ever made a big deal out of being a Pedro Pan. One day, about 10 years ago, that we met at Mercado Latino,
More than that.
a few Pedro Pans got the idea of, let's see how many Pedro Pans are here in Los Angeles. So they had this event at Angelita's Mercado Latino boardroom, which is quite large. And to my surprise, there were like 40, 50 of us that showed up. A lot of them I've known for years. But I never knew they were Pedro Pans, and they didn't know that I was Pedro Pan because we never talked about it. Why did we not talk about it? It's simple. Number one, we came, then we got reunited with our parents, our lives got very busy. We were, at a very young age, we were like the pillar of the house because we spoke English and they didn't. We knew the customs, we knew the way around, and they didn't. Why did we know this at such early age? I mean, when I got reunited with my parents, I was 15 years old. Well, because I had been working since I was 12. So I had to work. So we matured a lot. So I blame us, the Pedro Pans, for not getting our story out. Then we got busy raising a family. The kids took all the time. And we never talked about Pedro Pan. My daughters are here today. I asked them to come. I asked my grandchildren to come, so they learn a little of Owne. That afternoon in Mercado Latino, I found out the real reason why we never talked about Pedro Pan. Every one of us had to get up, introduce ourselves, you know, Enrique Garcia, Pedro, Arturo Bueno, Estela Bueno. But as we introduced ourselves, we also had to tell them a story. And let me tell you, every story that was told was a true story. A story that was lived by each and every one of us. And I say that day, we never talked about Pedro Pan because Pedro Pan was like a scab. You know, you get an injury and you get a scab. You don't touch it. You leave it alone. It doesn't hurt. You start picking at it, it hurts. I'm a crier. I'm a crybaby. I've always been. There's no doubt about it. Aside from being a stud, I'm a crybaby. But that day, I had never seen so many tears from grown men and women. So that's the reason why the story of Pedro Pan. I came to the conclusion, that's why we never talked Pedro Pan. Because it's there, don't touch it, don't open the closet. Because if we open the closet, it's going to hurt. You open that wound, it's going to hurt, we're going to bleed. But it served to allow us to talk about Pedro Pan. We used to go to Florida every year. Every other year we used to go to Florida for years, my wife and I. I mean, like all Cubans, we go to Versailles, you know, in Florida. There's no beach like Miami Beach. You know, so nobody mentioned Pedro Pan before. The last 3 trips that I've gone to Miami were a restaurant, and we're talking because Cubans want to know everybody's life. When did you come? I came in 1962. Oh yeah, you come with... No, I'm part of Pedro Pan. Oh man, they come, they shake your hand. Nobody pays lunch. Nobody buys lunch. But they all say how proud they are that you are Pedro Pan. They got to meet a, Pedro Pan. He said, good, maybe something. I mean, coffee. No. So that's the reason why the story was never told. We can't blame anybody. I think it was us. It was us more than anything else. In the first presentation, you saw and heard from Sergio and Fermat, 2 very successful Pedro Pans. One is police chief in the city of Riverside. Fermat is a retired judge for umpteen years in Anaheim. And now you get to hear from another Pedro Pan. I'm not as successful, but hey, I raise kids and I'm married, got my house, so we don't do so bad. Okay.
You're a stud. You're a stud.
I'm a stud. This lady, a round of applause to this lady. No, but you have been listening to a lot of statistics. Now I'm going to do my best to put a heart and a face behind Pedro Pan. And we're going to start. It's 3 faces. I've come down to the conclusion that Pedro Pan had 3 faces. The first face is valor, I call it valor, and determination, commitment. And it was valor not from the Pedro Pans. It was valor from our parents. I don't know how many nights they must have talked and cried and figure out if this is the right thing to do. What are we going to do with our kids? They made the right decision. They made a very, very brave decision. Let's send them ahead and we'll meet. That was the uncertainty. Right now there are flights to Cuba. People from here can go to Cuba. When we came out, it was goodbye. And if you were lucky, you got a 3-minute phone call, which was cut off at the end of 3 minutes by the operator in Havana. Your 3 minutes are up. Boom, you're done. And you don't know how many times you make that call. And you don't know if your parents were actually going to come out or not come out. So the parents had to be extremely, extremely brave. And had to make, what could be more difficult, I ask to each and every one of you here, than to separate yourself from your children? I don't think there's anything. I've asked myself many times, if confronted with the same problem, would I do it? And the only person I would answer that would be the Lord up there. Ask Him to give me the strength and do it. But would I be able to do it? I don't know. It would be a decision that very difficult. After they made the decision, they had to overcome the influence of the families. Uncles, aunts, grandmothers, grandfathers. I'm sure that not everything was positive. You're crazy sending the kids along. You don't know if you're going to see them again. What's going to happen to them? Who's going to take care of them? But my parents, thank God, once they made the decision to go, that's why I say, is courage and decision. That's the first phase, valor and decision and commitment. They were committed to it. They are going because they're going. Because as parents, we don't count. So we came. That first phase of Pedro Pans is identical for each Pedro Pan. As second and third phases of Pedro Pans are different from each one of us, the first phase is identical. Because I'm sure Berta's parents went through the same, Angelita's parents went through the same, Irene's family went through the same. Okay. What do we do with the kids? They have valor and send us along. Once that decision was made, then you started doing the paperwork. You had to get passports. You had to find a way to get a visa. You had to find what's going to happen. Let's lay out the groundwork. And you start indoctrinating your children. I say it's psychological warfare. We had to get ready for psychological warfare. Because we were going to be bombarded by questions from the communist regime. We were going to be bombarded with options from the communist regime. We were going to be tortured by the communist regime. Because psychological torture is still torture. It's still torture because I lived it, and I was 11, I'm 68 now, going to be 69, and I still remember. So, we'll go into that a little later. So that first step was difficult, determination, valor. Now let's do the groundwork. You had to do everything. I had Sergio said that, and Fermat, that they think the Cuban government didn't know what was going on. I hate to differ with them. I see at the beginning it was a clandestine operation. But communism succeeds when it has two things. When it separates family and it eliminates religion. He did that in 1961 by expelling priests, nuns, and other sects. Rabbis, pastors were expelled from Cuba. So he had accomplished that. Now, let's separate the families. This was a way of also separating families because it brought discord among many members of the family. A mother that didn't want the child to go, the father that didn't want the child to go. And then when the child left, families separated. And mother or father would split and go each different way. And there was the homeness, okay, that Cubans were known for. Okay. We were tight as a family. It was gone. And let me tell you something. It has never come back. Because as Cuban refugees, we were all over the place. I have cousins and aunts. And some that are in Cuba, I never saw them again. Some live in New York, some live in Texas, some live in Florida. We were all over. And we meet once in a while, we hug and say, we love you. But it's not the same. We were tight. He did away with that. He did away with that. We got the day. Then we're going to exit. We received the telegram. You're approved to leave. We have the visas, we've gone through all that. All of us have gone through all that. Each and every one of our Pedro Pan's story is the same up until the time we land in Miami. We get the notice. Once you walked into La Pecera, you couldn't exit. You couldn't talk to your parents again. You see them through a glass wall. You go in. Then your name is called. You go and you register at the desk. I remember this vividly. And they start asking you questions. Where's your family? Where are you going? I'm going to study. I had a student visa. I'm going to study. Where are you going to study? I'm 11 years old, but I had been trained. I mean, I was a puppy. I was trained. I want to learn English. Okay? You know why you're really going to the United States? Yeah, I'm going to study. No. Your parents don't love you. You can end this right now. And you say, this, you don't say anything, really. I don't remember saying anything. You could say, You want to stay in Cuba? Be a good Cuban? All you have to do is say the word. Fidel will adopt you. You will become one of the chosen ones. You will be one of his preferred children. Your parents don't love you. You've got to face that. You're going to a strange country, you don't speak the language, you don't like the food. Why are they sending you away? You love your parents? Yeah, I love my parents. Why are they sending you away? Because I want to study English. You sure about that? Yeah, I'm going to study English. Okay. Who in your family is part of who is in favor of the revolution? Who's in favor of not the revolution? And who's against, who's an anti-revolutionary? Is what they would say. I don't know. I knew everything. What was going on? Behind the little door, glass dropped down. Here comes the ice. Here comes this brown liquid. Here comes this white fussy stuff. Shh! Boom! I got a Coke. Man, I couldn't believe it. I said, "Coño, Felito, estos americanos son candela." I told him, "Coño," well, by now you know what coño is. These Americans, they're on fire. And to Cuba, if you're on fire, you are top notch. I mean, if you're fire, you're the best. Okay? So that was the one thing that amazed me. The one thing that amazed me. Up until I got to New York and I saw the subways, then it was really... But being in Havana had everything. We had everything in Havana. We had elevators, escalators, all kinds of food. Before 1959, then it got tough. So we get called to go into the van. We go to the van. We get in the van. My brother's 15, I'm 11. He's going to take care of me. I have to listen to what he said. To this day,